Hey there, welcome to saas.unbound podcast. I'm your host, I'm Nadeina, head of growth at saas.group, a serial acquirer buying wonderful SaaS businesses to take them to the next level. And here I chat with inspiring founders and experts to get an inside scoop on how they made their business success. And today with me is Saravana, founder and CEO at kobai.com, product suite of Microsoft integration tools and SaaS product that fuels over 1,500 businesses across the globe. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you very much, Anna. Thanks for having me on the show. You mentioned 1500. We're actually, over 2000 something.
Way over that. Okay. All right. Thank you for correcting me. It's good to have the source here. So yeah, happy to talk to you about this. You've got a really interesting story. You've been around for over 10 years and you've hit 10 million ARR in 2020, started rapidly growing the team and the suite of products that you're working on. But maybe let's start at the beginning and get your background and just the whole inspiration behind the product, the initial product. Maybe like 2 3 minutes.
Yeah, sure. You can tell from my my look and accent. I'm originally from India. I moved to London back in 2000. I worked as a consultant, typical IT consultant, for 10 years for companies like Accenture, Microsoft, Fidelity. Specialized in a technology called Bistock server. A lot of people won't even know what the technology is. It's one of the Microsoft products. It helps companies, large companies like Shell or BBC, when you have like lot of systems together like SAP and Oracle, and you want to make it talk to each other. And I was specialized in that particular technology. And there, during the 10 years period, I found a lot of gaps Microsoft left in that product and the enterprise space, mainly around security, governance, monitoring, operations, and all those kind of things. And that is how I thought, okay, maybe there is an opportunity, and I just started the first product. So I started as a single founder, and I spent 1 year building the product myself. So it took me a year to build the first V1 of the product, and then I went to the market in 2011. And within a few months, I started getting customers, and that's how the first product was launched. But that was the only product for 5 years. I was just focused on that one product until it reached a stage, and then eventually we got it into multi-product company, and today we have multiple products. I think we will talk more about it during the. I don't want to spend next 15 minutes going through the whole thing, but that's how I got started. Just to give a bit of a background for the listeners, today we are close to 300 people, four different SaaS products, uh, and as I mentioned, it's over 2,000 customers worldwide, and the 10 million revenue is very old. It's about 2020 numbers. We are bootstrapped. We never took any money. Even today, it's a fully bootstrapped business. Yeah, that's the background.
Okay, thank you. That's fascinating. Well, yeah, when I was researching about it and listening to some of your older podcasts, when you describe that, yeah, you're building these new products into a suite of tools, and they're all independent companies. They operate as independent brands, but you have this horizontal kind of centralized system for legal, for finance. I was like, okay, that is very similar for like what we're doing at SaaS Group. So how did you get this idea of keeping them independent?
Yeah, I think typically when you look at companies going multi-product, from single product to multi-product, they go and find adjacent products, like where you can sell it to the same buyer personas of the original product. But our case was completely different. It's a right or wrong. We actually went after more interesting problems rather than finding adjacent solutions related to the same product. So out of the four products, two of them are somewhat related. So the original product Bistock 360, and then the second product Turbo 360, they both are in the Microsoft ecosystem. The Turbo 360 is more on Azure cloud cost optimization. They both are related. But if you look at Document 360, it's actually completely unrelated product. So we around 2017, like when we wanted to build the documentation for our enterprise products, that's where we found a gap in the market. So either one side, it's a very simple solutions like that comes out of customer support product like a Zendesk, Freshdesk, Intercom, etc. On the other side, it's a very complicated legacy products like some of the Adobe FrameMaker kind of products. We couldn't find something in the middle, where you have a team of technical people like 15, something like 10 people writing documentation. They want a robust solution, and that's where we found a gap, and then we went ahead. So the reason I was saying is, it's we didn't build an adjacent product. It's completely from north and south difference between our original product and this product. Even the go to market strategy is completely different, because the first two products are more like a sales led, a heavy enterprise products. But Document 360 is more like a marketing led, and heavy investment on the marketing and inside sales, and more, I won't say it's complete PLG, but it's a more of assisted selling. Like, we don't really do hard selling on Document 360. So they're completely different. And then finally, the Churn 360 is, again, it's still in the early days, but that's again completely different market. So we went after, like, where we see an opportunity and the problems what we faced ourselves. We know the domain well, and that's how we went ahead. So I'll say it's more accidental. It was not planned, and that is why we have a company structure of, all four products operate almost like an independent company on its own, and then there's a horizontal layer to support some general operations like the finance, the recruitment, and then a bunch of operational teams across it. So yeah.
Okay, and it seems like, uh, again, just by the looks of it, there was one product that was alive for 5 years, right, before you started building another one. So, are you more of a 0 to 1 kind of founder, or 1 to 100? What's your deal? Like, do you get bored and you're like, okay, let's build something new?
No, no, no. It's definitely, that's not the right attitude to have for founders, because you get bored and let's start something new. It's more of, like, okay, the first 5 years, we were super focused on that single product, Vista 360. We were even, only like 50-member team at its peak around 2016. It's more of, we reached a kind of a saturation point. Like, in that product, we figured out, in terms of product development, that you can't do much more. The product will reach its saturation point, and then after that it'll be more like you're adding more and more features which are not to the core of the product, only like adjacents, like something nice to have and things like that. In our case, we built a nice team. We invested on 5 years on building that team. I really don't want to, somebody coming from a technical background, I understand people will get bored, right? It's obvious, like, okay, you worked on something for so long, and then, what's next. I felt it's my responsibility to make sure, like, there's a career progress for the team who have built, and that is one of the contributing factor for moving to the cloud. Of course, the other, the market size is one, the product maturity is second, and then the market opportunity is the third point. Everyone is going on cloud, and then that's how, we ended up building more products. uh, Whether I'm a 0 to 1 person or a 1 to 100%, it definitely 0 to 1. I have experience, like, I have done 3 products now in that range. And then couple of products are, like a higher range, definitely, like not in hundreds, but, I would say 1 to 10 I have done it as well. So, like, for me, I'm just learning as I progress. Like, okay, now I'm in the learning phase of how do I move from, 10 to 25 mark is what I'm focused on, and then all my learnings, all my networking, all my peer group, everything I'm focused on. How do you get the 10 to 25 is what I'm focused on. Eventually, yeah, that 100 will come, but But yeah, I think at the moment it's 10 to 25 journey. Yeah.
Okay, step by step. That makes sense. All right, and let's talk a little bit about bootstrapping, right? Because, well, in your kind of 0 to 1 journey with the essential product, it was. Yeah, it sounded very easy, right? You started getting customers after a few months, but you actually had a blog that you were running for several years, where you got your kind of the first audience. I'm spoiling the story here. You're the best person to tell this, but um, yeah, how did you why did you decide that bootstrapping is going to be something that you're going with? Is it because you were building this from scratch yourself, while also working as a consultant, and you had this audience, this kind of goal that you were sitting on, where you could get your first customer? Or it was just you know your vision from the very beginning?
Okay. There are multiple factors. It's first, it's not actually by design. Like, it's not that I decided I'm going to bootstrap the business all the way through. Nobody thinks like that, because for running doing anything you need money. Full stop. The thing is, from where are you going to get that money? It's a question mark. So in our case, okay, I'll change it to hour to I. It's more like it's basically I at that time. Like, when I started the business, there are multiple factors contributed to the bootstrap journey. So one, I didn't know anything about this VC world, or you can get money from external people, because if we are talking 2010, it's a very, now getting money, and it's all become very common. Like, you can go with a PowerPoint and probably get a couple of millions if you can convince a VC. But back in 2010, the VC ecosystem didn't exist, or it was available only at a late stage, or for matured businesses. So I didn't even attempt to go and ask for money with anybody else. The second one, I was building it myself. Like, my expenses were too low. Like, I'm a developer, kind of hardcore developer. Like, I was able to build things pretty fast, and I didn't have like a team or anything to manage. And the good thing, or by luck, what happened was, like, I was able to acquire customers immediately, because I remember, like, I launched the product in June 2011, and in a weekend, and I think I had like 5 enterprise customers by end of the year, like within 4 or 5 months. When I say enterprise customers, I think Shell, for example, is my third customer. Like, if I was able to acquire that kind of customers within that. So the money started to come from customers immediately. Like, I didn't need to wait for like a year or 2 years to see money coming. So it happened very quickly. And then the flywheel started to go, like, okay, you're a small team, the money is coming, and then like, as and when, the way, like, I acquire, I still have that as a principle. If I'm when I'm hiring somebody, like, can I pay that person for 2 years? Is the maths I do as a bootstrap founder. Like, since you're responsible for their livelihood. Like, if when I'm hiring, I need to have 2 years worth of funding to pay that person. So that is how, when I had enough money, I hired the first person. Once I get the confidence, I can pay that person for 2 years. They're slowly building that team. So it's all like, very organic, slow process. That's why maybe it took us 10 years. It's a very simple equation, right? When you have time, you don't have money. When you have money, you don't have time. So you compromise, basically. Okay, you had plenty of time, and then you're slowly organically growing. Until 2019, we were only like 50, 60 people. Only in the last 5, 6 years, we scaled exponentially from 50 people to 300 people. Because by that time, we acquired a lot of customers, and the money was coming in, and then we can take bigger risks. Today we operate almost like a funded business. Like, a lot of investment goes into sales and marketing, and we do pretty much similar kind of, rule of 40 and SaaS magic number, and all those metrics are applicable to us today. Today, we operate more like a funded business rather than a bootstrap business. Yeah.
Okay. All right, but still, you are bootstrapped, right? So what has worked for you successfully to become what you've become? eventually. And let's extend that question to what hasn't worked.
Okay, I think if somebody is looking at, maybe the readers may be looking at the answer, like, what will work for me? How can I replicate that model? So the first thing I will say, what worked for us in this case is basically it's a very, as I mentioned, it's a very niche product. We are looking at this Bistock server. It's like Microsoft themselves got only about 10,000 customers worldwide, and that is our total addressable market. So because of that, one, I'm kind of, like a subject matter expert in that particular technology. So that helped me to understand the domain extremely well and the problem space extremely well. And the V1 of the product, it automatically came with the product market fit because I lived with that problem for 10 years. Only after that, I built that product because I know firsthand what are the pain points a end customer will face. And then I build the product. So that is number one lesson. If you're building something being bootstrapped, you need to build a product that customer wants, otherwise there is no chance. You'll be spending a lot of time, a lot of money in acquiring customers, they won't stick around. So that is number one thing. And pick up a niche market because the niche market, the advantage is, the competition is less. Even today we don't have a competition because we are so dominant in that area. Like the product is extremely good, and it's, if somebody want to come and fight with us, it's a very hard job for us. And also it's a very technically complex area as well. You can imagine like some security company, right? So you need to know the domain extremely well. It's very expensive to build for somebody to come and build something, and the market is also small, so it doesn't fancy a lot of people. So you need to figure it out. You need to find a market, something like that, to be bootstrapped. And also you need to figure out a way of a cheaper way of acquiring customers. Cheaper in the sense, you need to do things that are not scalable. In my case, I had a blog. You mentioned about that. I've been writing since 2004. Even today, if somebody goes and search anything on that particular technology BizTalk, I guarantee one of the top three results will be mine because I've written 800 articles on the topic. I just dominated that whole thing. And also the thing is here, I didn't write those things just to convince on the content marketing side. I wrote it purely to help the end users. Like all the articles are valuable, it gives you a lot of value to the customers. So all these modes, you can see different things, right, jointly contributed to the success of because people only see the revenue, which is a lagging indicator, but there's like bunch of things you need to do to get there, and it's all happened in my case. Yeah.
Okay, so what hasn't worked? What have you tried maybe in the first 5 years as a bootstrapper, and it failed?
No, I won't say it's a what hasn't worked. Rather, what I'll say is maybe, what I think now is probably after 2 years of the business, first bootstrapping, if I had that thought process, or if I'd taken money, probably we could have grown much more faster. That is the only downside I see. Again, like I just go with the principle of never look at your rear view mirror. Whatever happened, you never know what happened. But that's the only downside I see is when things are going. Sometimes what the bootstrap founders, what they do is they just stick around with the same principle. You want to be bootstrap, but sometimes if you get if the equation is good, if I can get money and scale faster, you probably should do it. That's the only thing I will say. Like probably I could have done it, but and now we crossed that stage now. Like like okay, we have enough money to invest ourselves. Maybe that would have accelerated a little bit in the early days. Yeah, and maybe some guidance as well. Like in my case, as I said, I'm a technical founder. I was still learning. That's why it took a long time. Maybe the one downside could have been some other businesses could have been died in that process as well. Maybe in our case we sustained and then we were able to come out. But probably and again, there's no right or wrong, and you need to be very context aware. Whatever I'm saying may not be applicable for everybody, so you need to be only take it with a pinch of salt. Every circumstance is different. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, the fact that you're a solo founder and you're building all these products with now a huge team, what you went through all this like huge steep learning curve. And also, because of course I went to your LinkedIn and I saw what you were writing about, and I noticed that there is a lot about work life balance and just how to navigate this whole like high performing competitive space. So, how does it work for you as a solo founder? How are you working with the high pressure, with the competitiveness, and with the fact that, yeah, lots of people depend on you?
Yeah, I think to be honest, I don't put myself under high pressure. Like that is one thing founders need to learn. How do you manage your time, your focus, your energy, work-life balance, and everything. When you look at my LinkedIn profile, like what I'm writing in the last year or so is something called Life of a CEO. Because what I realized is, when you go to LinkedIn, people always talk about only the business side of things, how to the GTM strategy and how to acquire customers and talking about your product and this and that. But nobody really talks about how does life of a CEO revolve around. What do I do in the weekend? What do I do in the evening? Like what are my interests? Like how do I manage a team? What are the learnings on a day-to-day learnings? Those are the things I'm publishing more on my LinkedIn these days. And also I feel like, personally you should be happy. That's my objective. Whether you are a CEO or even, that is what I try to do within the company as well. I strongly believe if somebody is not personally happy, there's no value basically. At the end of the day, what are you working for, right? You need to be enjoy yourself. Like whatever work you're doing, you need to enjoy yourself. So yeah, and it will come down to, like it's a personal characteristics, how well you can manage everything. And also it's not, it may be I'm sounding too easy, but it comes as a building blocks. You need to think from day one, how do you build it up. For example, today I have a great team. That's again part of my role. Like, how do you build a team? Like all these products, you know some of the products, I spend very little time. Like it's more, I'm like a more like an internal mentor rather than like I'm running it. So some of the products are run by like a lot of senior folks, and then I'm more like a advisor kind of role is what I play within the company. Some certain areas where I am interested in, what fascinates me, I did look at it. For example, document 360, I get involved on the product side because I'm coming from a product background. I love building great products. Like I spend a lot of time with the engineering team, how the product should look like. For example, document 360, we revamped the entire product last year with the 2.0 with all the Gen AI capabilities, because I spent a lot of time on what's happening in this new era of Gen AI, and then we thought a lot of usability in the product. So those are the areas what I like and I spend time on. So the bottom line, you need to spend time that fascinates you and makes you exciting. As a founder, you'll have a lot of boring things to do as well. Try to delegate as much as possible, and then certain things you still need to do it, but you can manage it. It's just a uh, it's a proper planning and execution, I'll say. Yeah.
Perfect. So no regrets being a solo founder.
Not really. There's no regrets. Like in fact, it's better in a lot of ways. Like I feel, I read somewhere a beautiful quote. The decision making should not be democratic. You know, that you should be like a single founder decision. Like, that helps me. Lot of big decisions, I just take it just like that. I don't have a board. I don't have investors, and yeah. And also, as I said, I don't regret. If I make a mistake, I make a mistake. But the decision making is pretty fast. Like, so we move very fast. So that helps. So I don't have any regrets. Like it worked. And now today I probably do not have a co-founder, but the management team is there. Like, they work like a co-founder equivalent inside the company now. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about growth a little bit. I couldn't find the more recent numbers, but before COVID, before 2020, I guess, you've been growing about 150% year
No,
over
that's
year,
not
which
the
is
right number. I
fascinating.
don't think I don't think that's
Okay.
right number. Yeah, I don't know the exact percentage.
Where
Will be
did I get
probably,
it?
yeah. Yeah, that's not the right number. Yeah, yeah. I think that today we are in the 10 to
Okay.
12. Yeah, yeah, 10 to 20 journey. Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah,
All
10
right.
to 20 journey. Yeah,
So
20.
let's
Yeah.
talk about the most recent times. What are the biggest growth levers at the moment, and how are you utilizing them?
As a, since it's a multi-product company, every product got a different strategy in terms of growth levers. If I look at Document 360, for example, like we are very strong on the inbound side of things, in a heavy marketing driven, like both organic, paid, and all those things. But in the last year or so, we also invested in the outbound strategy, and then the partnership strategy, and then some region specific strategies as well. And there's a there's a lot of potential there, and the product is a very big TAM. Like today, anybody will require like a self-service knowledge base, and with the advent of Gen AI, like that's one area where it's heavily disruptor, or there's a lot of potential. So we see like there's a lot of growth opportunities out there in the Document 360. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And what are you most excited about when you're talking? Because I just guessed that Document 360 is the product that you're most involved with. So you've rebuilt it last year. What are you most excited about where it's going and how it's developing?
Yeah, that's right. Time I spend over 50% of my time on Document 360. That is the product, we are really, excited about. And, as I said, it's the TAM for this product is extremely big. There's so many use cases. Like one side, there's a public facing knowledge base, like, docs.microsoft.com, or, docs.stripe.com. Like it's a huge use case. Every single digital business could be our potential customers. It's a very horizontal market, and there's so many opportunities there. And on there's the other side, there's a lot of internal knowledge bases, right? Standard operating procedures, and engineering processes, and sales processes. And there's if you the permutation combination is so many different flavors, and we there's a and if we can dominate that product as a market leader, that's what we're trying to aim to get there. There's huge market potential. That's where like I'm heads down, like throughout my day. The big thinking is on that Document 360 and the potential it got, and where we can take that product here.
Okay, all right. So, what is the biggest problem that you're solving with it? And like you said, it's a super horizontal product, but well, we both know that you cannot sell to everybody, right? It's better to decide who you are not selling to from the get go. So, who's your ICP, and who would you say no to?
Yeah, I think our typical ICP is, like we're, at a very top level, it could be any online businesses. We are going down more into, like a SaaS businesses. For example, our table is our customer. The use case is, imagine everybody, like a Stripe got one of the best documentations in the world. They in fact redefined how a product documentation should look like. So what we are providing is a Stripe equivalent knowledge base can be created without any hassle. Like you just focus on the content, we can give you like a Stripe equivalent knowledge base. So Airtable, for example, is our customer, and Mid Journey, probably a lot of people know, like it's one of the top companies for generative images, and they are one of our customers. They got like 50 million hits kind of thing every month. So those things are all powered by Document 360. Typically the ICPs are anybody who are technical writers, as head of customer support, head of customer experience, and they're all constantly looking for a better solutions, and they like they typically search and find us to find Document 360. Uh, yeah, in terms of excitement, that's also an excitement, because people are now, with all this Gen AI things, people are actually looking, is there anything changed in this world, and they come search for it, and they find us automatically. So like that's how the growth is quite exponential. Yeah.
Okay, well, you mentioned some big names, right? And the knowledge base industry, or like the amount of tools that solve this problem, is growing day by day. I mean, only on this podcast, I think I've interviewed 3 or 4 other founders that are building similar products. So, how are you guys going to these big names? Are they finding you, or there is still this assisted approach that you were talking about that works with enterprise, with bigger enterprise customers?
No, they are finding us. In fact, like all these big names, they have pretty much, all of them. The names I mentioned are all inbound. In fact, like the Mid Journey case, we had a really interesting, interesting internal story. Like we didn't even know they became our customers. Mid Journey, like like they became our customers. They just came. They didn't even speak to any of us. They just came. They bought the product, and then they started using it. And this is beginning days of the Gen AI, where all these companies are coming up. And when you look at the name, it didn't even look like, we thought it's some small company. Like we didn't even know who they are. And okay, we didn't even bother to look at it. And every month, end of the month, we have like our cloud cost reconciliation meeting, because every end of the month we look at what is our cloud cost. It typically goes up by 2 to 3% month on month from the previous month, because we are adding customers and the existing customer usage increases. But that one particular month, one of the services went up by 40%. And then we thought with some misconfiguration, or like something wrong. And then when we started digging deeper, and then we figured out this one customer is actually consuming the 30-40% of our CDN, which is a content delivery network, which helps you to get the load your sites faster. And like a only then we realized, okay, this customer is hitting like 30-40 million visits per month kind of volume. And then we dig deeper. So yeah, to answer your questions, a lot of these big names, they find us. And yeah, I believe like we have the best product in this category, and there's a lot of players coming. But it's very hard problem to solve. Like a lot of them, they might look at, like a simple solution is easy, but when you look at the deeper use cases, like to support somebody like Airtable or Stripe kind of thing, it requires a lot of investment. Even today, like I can comfortably say we have next 2 years worth of backlog, the things what we wanted to build, not even looking at any external competitors or anything. We know exactly for next 2 years with the 50 engineers we have work to do. So that's how complex this particular domain is. At the face of it looks simple, but when you go deeper, it gets complicated. Yeah.
Okay, what about customer communication? I mean, those big companies, they must have some kind of requests that, you know, they want to implement for their own knowledge bases. I mean, how do you how do you navigate this customer feedback from those companies? Do you stick to your roadmap specifically, or there is still some prioritization based on what they're asking for?
Yeah, we maintain a public roadmap or public feedback portal. It's called feedback.document360.com, and people can come and put their thing. And then there's a lot of upvotes, and we constantly review it. In fact, like one of the internal principle is, if something got above 50 votes, we just should prioritize and implement it in the upcoming every quarterly planning. Like that's one of the top things, is if anything got above 50 votes, we just try to prioritize and get it. If it makes sense, it's logical, we do it. That's one thing. And anything, like if any bugs, or like when some, when we get like and also sometimes high value customers will determine some features. But generally we don't encourage, we don't go and build something very specific for a customer requirement. It needs to be, still need to be a widely used feature or request. Then we prioritize it. Yeah.
Okay. So uh, I just want to come back to the cloud situation, because we had David Henneman Hansen here talking about moving off the cloud and just the whole hoopla with this. So what are you guys doing? Are you sticking to the cloud? Is there any idea of maybe moving out of it at some point as well, because you have this huge customers that do that to your cost?
Yeah, I don't think, like, okay, it's an individual. I will say it's an individual preference. I know, like, the Basecamp guys, they moved out of out of the cloud. And there's a big the story around, it's fine. And I think it's a individual preference, because in our case I don't think we will move out of cloud, because it gives lot of flexibility. And okay, it's expensive when you compare to running your own data centers and maintaining servers. It's pros and cons against both the approaches. So in our case, it's working very well. We try to optimize it, but I don't see us coming out of cloud in the near future. Yeah, I think it's going to stay. We might, yeah, I'll say we just more optimization. I can't see us, going and building servers old way anytime soon. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So, just a couple more questions that I wanted to ask, because you talked about the way you scaled the team so rapidly from 60 in 2019 to now almost 300. So, how did it work for you in terms of building the culture, or preserving the culture, the legacy that you've been building all these years? How do it work for you as a leader as well? Because, well, you're the face of the company, and you want to still oversee what's going on with every brand, every product over there. So, what was the biggest challenge for you guys, and how did you sustain this growth?
Yeah, sure. I think it's very, it's a simple thing. Like when you start to scale, when you're like 10 people or 20 people, it's very easy. Everybody follows the culture and so easy to communicate. And then the moment you start scaling, it's very difficult to keep up with the same culture. You will need to bring a lot of processes in place, and then you need to keep educating. I think the one good piece of advice or I come across is from the LinkedIn CEO. So it's all about communication, and you need to keep, as a founder, what you should do is you need to be prepared to keep telling the same thing again and again and again. And the thing is, only when you get tired and you feel like I can't communicate anymore, only then people will start realizing what you are saying. That's how much effort is required for you to keep communicating your cultures and values and how you want to run the business. You need to be, as a founder, you need to be prepared to keep repeating yourself in an endless loop again and again and again. The same, even this interview, right? I must have told this story like 1,000 times. I still need to tell it in the same fashion. And like after 10 years I should have still the same energy to tell the story and it both external and internal. Okay, externally, how I'm communicating the brand value, the story, how it originated, I need to keep repeating. In the same principle goes internally, keep repeating the cultural values and how you wanted to operate again and again and again. And that is how. And then you need to pass that baton to your next set of people as well. They need to repeat the same thing again and again and again, and it's just a continuous journey. Yeah, that's how you maintain the culture.
Okay, all right. So far, after 13 years, right? What has been the biggest win and the biggest failure? Could be for the company or for you as a founder.
I think the biggest win, both as a company, as a founder, is we managed to build this big entity, right? Okay, a lot of times it doesn't mean like you just spend 10 years, people don't build something. There's still a lot of failures. And if it's easy, if everybody thinks I can work for 10 years and they can build a company, it doesn't happen. That's what I say it as the biggest win. We are so proud. We got this entity, and we managed to do it on our own style, without anybody's influence. And today I'm proud to support 300 families. It's not just 300 employees, right? Okay, so if you look at the bigger ecosystem, we are in total, we are supporting close to 2,000 people with the immediate family out of the street. That I see it as the biggest success and biggest win. And personally, what makes me happy. And also, I have a personal objective. I wanted to make at least 25 people super rich. It's my personal objective. Once, and it's not about me. And now I'm moving towards that journey of making that at least 25 people richer. The other thing, failure, I don't see anything as a failure. It's all a learning process. It's you just, if something doesn't work, you at least learn from it and then move on. That is how I see it.
Okay, and by making 20, 30 people rich, do you mean by giving them the a part of the company, making them like
Yeah,
co-founders per se,
one
or
way or the
yeah?
other. Yeah, not necessarily,
Hmm.
giving ESOPs and okay, there are multiple ways to do it. Like okay, there could be a huge bonuses or like the
Hmm.
end goal. Can you make 25, 30 people financially independent? They can retire basically, right? Okay, we show the path towards that. It's a the execution. There are multiple ways to do it. How do you execute that is a different things, because being a bootstrap company, okay, if it's a funded company, there's a very simple, you have stock options, and then there's a further funding rounds, and then you circulate it. But with bootstrap, we need to work out a strategy how we can distribute wealth, and that is the plan.
Okay, that's a great one. All right, so the last question is the usual one on the podcast. It's about a hack. So, what is the hack that you're using, maybe to build the essential product, maybe to find that problem that is worth solving, maybe in scaling? So, something that worked for you, but could be new, not very conventional for others.
What's the hack? My personal hack.
Yeah.
I think one of the thing is, like I don't know, it maybe looks very simple, but it what worked out extremely well for me is I wake up at 4:30 in the morning every day, and I've been doing it for since the beginning of the company, and that's my routine. Like I wake up at 4:30, and the first 3 hours, 4:30 to 7:30, it's my time, and that is where all the thinking and all the work what I wanted to do, everything happens. In the very early days, I was very strict and disciplined. Like I won't open email. At that time we didn't even have Slack or Teams. It's only email. I don't even open those things. It's a very very focused. I know exactly what I'm doing in the 3 hours, and it's still continuing. Like today, even today, like whether I have something to do or not, I still wake up at 4:30, and that's my productive time. And a lot of times what happens is, like my day is almost finished within the 3 hours, because whatever I wanted to achieve, I have to achieve it within that window. And once I after that, I drop the kids in the school, and then I come to office, and then the regular work starts. I think that for me is one of the best personal hack, I will say. It worked out extremely well, and it's super productive and super helpful. Yeah.
Okay, and requires a ton of discipline. Um, yeah, not for everybody. I tried to wake up at 5 for a month. Oh, good God. It was very brutal. It
No, but I think on
drained
that
me
note,
after that month.
I wanted to add one more thing on that note. You don't necessarily need to wake up early in the morning, because I read a book long time ago about how does your brain work. Everybody is different, because for some people the sweet spot, the most productive time may be sometime in the night. You might know some people are night owls, right? They become super productive only at 10 o'clock in the night, and they can work till 3 a.m. in the morning. So you need to figure out where is your most productive time, and the key is you do the most important things during that productive window. It could be night, it could be morning, or whatever time works for you. Don't force yourself. I need to wake
Okay.
up early. Maybe you are not a morning person. It may not work well for you.
All right, I'm switching. Next month, I'm waking up at 12 and then doing the opposite. All right, let's see where this goes. Well, thank you so much, Saravana. It's been great talking to you. It seems like, you know exactly what you're building and exactly where you're going, and doing it with a team of incredible people. So I'd be happy to do it again sometime, maybe next year, see where you're at. And maybe there is another product on the way already.
Yeah, sure. I don't think we have another product on the way. We are actually going deeper with the products what we have. Yeah, thank you very much for having me, Anna. It's really real pleasure to speak to you. Thanks.
Thank you and take care.